Ruse, the city of the free spirit, bathes today in the golden rays of a new era. The Statue of Liberty stands as a sentinel, reminding us of the unyielding will of its people. But to find the true root of this energy, we must look beyond the modern facades. In this city of firsts, time flows differently, carrying the aroma of Viennese coffee, the resonance of the first grand pianos, and the breath of eternal, unbreakable freedom. Yet its story is far older. 7,000 years ago, in the Eastern Industrial Zone, the first spark of gold was struck. Let us journey to the dawn of time to understand how it all began. Few know that in the backyard of today's Bimas plant lies a portal through time. Here, beneath layers of the present, pulses the foundation of one of the Balkans' most significant prehistoric settlements. At the dawn of the Copper Age, the banks of the Danube became the stage for the first sedentary life in the region. The settlement was fortified, guarded by a 2-meter water trench and a wooden palisade. On this fresh spring morning 6 millennia ago, the golden idol of the Mother of the Gods shimmered for the first time, a testament to a sophisticated culture. Life flourished here for over 1,000 years, but the Golden Age ended abruptly. Excavations reveal a haunting scene. Traces of massive fires that literally baked the clay walls of the dwellings. After millennia of grandeur, life on the mound fell silent, leaving behind only ash and stillness. Around the 3rd millennium BCE, great migrations began as pastoral tribes swept in from the Black Sea steppes. In this clash of worlds, the ancient farmers and the nomads merged to give rise to the Paleo-Thracians, ancestors of the legendary Thracians. Warriors and mystics, whom Herodotus called the most numerous nation after the Indians, they celebrated life by worshipping the divine sun. From the Rhodopes to the Danube, they raised rock observatories and solar sanctuaries. The Thracians were also masters of metal and aesthetics. The silver rhytons of the Borovo treasure are living proof of the high rank of local rulers. Their style, a mystical blend of Thracian tradition and Scythian animal motifs, speaks of a society where wealth and spirituality walked hand in hand. For the Thracian, the universal guardian of balance between darkness and light was him, the Thracian horseman, the eternal Heros. He is the protector of roads, the patron of springs, the mediator between man and the gods. In his image, the Thracian saw himself, proud, free, and eternal. At the start of the 1st millennium BCE, the Getae consolidated here, called by Herodotus the most courageous and just among the Thracians. Masters of the lower Danube, they believed in the immortality of the soul and their god-prophet Zalmoxis. The Thracian horseman became their eternal symbol. The hill where the ruins of Sexaginta Prista rest today was once their sacred ground. Here, at the mouth of the Rusensky Lam River, the Getae created a unique pit sanctuary. Hundreds of ritual pits dug into the loess served as a dialogue with the underworld. With reverence for the great Mother Earth, they laid their offerings, attempting to touch the womb of the world from which life springs. Today, as the sun sets over Ruse, we see the reflection of those ancient fires once more. The spirit of the Getae remains, built into the very foundations of the city of the free spirit. In this same strategic spot, the Roman Empire established the castra and river port of Sexaginta Prista upon reaching the Danube in the late 1st century. The name is not merely a geographic term, but an echo of military triumph. Sexaginta Prista, the port of 60 ships. Legend tells that Emperor Domitian moved an entire legion across the Danube to crush the Dacians using 60 fast Pristis warships. In honor of this victory, the modest fort became a key naval port and garrison city. The Roman world here collapsed in the late 6th century under the fiery hurricane of Avars and Slavs. The horizon over the Danube turned black. The majestic white walls crumbled in flames. After this apocalypse, the site fell silent. The sacred hill sank into a century of oblivion as time slowly erased the footprints of antiquity. Then, from the dusty horizons of the steppe, an ancient people emerged like a mirage, the Bulgars. On that historic day, their leader, the legendary Khan Asparuh, sighed with relief and cast a thankful gaze toward Tonka. The long wandering was over. The Bulgars had found their promised land. These horsemen did not come to destroy, but to stay and build, to create an empire of the free spirit. Soon, advanced detachments penetrated deep into the heart of the Danubian limes. These heavy cavalrymen were true war machines, armed with composite reflex bows. Their stirrups were a military revolution. With the victory at Ungal, they showed the Eastern Roman Empire that the lands north of the Balkans had finally found a new master. The Bulgars restored the ancient fortress of Sexaginta Prista and called it Ruse, a name derived from the old Bulgarian word for red. The fort became a vital gateway to the heart of the state, the capitals of Pliska and Veliki Preslav. But the tragic year of 969 arrived, changing the fate of the flourishing Bulgarian kingdom forever. At Byzantium's behest, Prince Sviatoslav I of Kiev invaded with a massive fleet and lightning cruelty. Ruse was one of the first victims of the Varangians. The tragedy was immense. Over 80 Bulgarian fortresses were devastated, and the priceless written and cultural treasures of the Golden Age vanished in the flames of this bloody war. After another 50 years of fighting for survival, the flame of the First Bulgarian Kingdom was extinguished. Yet the sacred lands of the horsemen gave birth to new heroes, the Asen dynasty. This was the era when the free Bulgarian spirit spread its wings over Trnavgrad and soared across the Danube. The fortress of Ruse became the old capital's economic window to the world, a bustling port where ships from Dubrovnik, Genoa, and Constantinople docked. The city was no longer just a border guard, but the golden gate of the Bulgarian kingdom. Upon the old foundations, the Bulgars raised a massive new fortress that became the empire's most vital logistical center. At the end of the 14th century, the horizon blackened once more. Vizier Ali Pasha crossed the Balkan mountains with a 30,000-strong army. The fortress of Ruse was among the last to offer fierce resistance, and the name Bulgaria vanished from the maps, dissolving into Oriental timelessness. The city entered the imperial annals with a new name, Ruschuk, Little Ruse, but the name proved ironic, for in the centuries to follow, Ruschuk would grow into the most vital point on the northern frontier. It became the Danube Gate, from where sultans directed their campaigns toward Wallachia and Hungary. In 1595, the Wallachian prince Michael the Brave burned Ruschuk to the ground, and for thousands of Bulgarian families, a long exile across the river began. Yet, even in the darkest centuries of oblivion, the Bulgarian root found the strength to pierce the stones of the fortress and return home to the eternal riverbed. By the end of the 18th century, the time of the Kartjalis, Ruschuk became an almost independent state, ruled by the powerful Ayan, Mustafa Pasha Bayraktar. The true revolution came with steam. In 1866, the first railway line, Ruse-Varna, was built here. This occurred 2 years after Midhat Pasha took charge of the newly created Danube Vilayet, turning Ruschuk into the economic heart of the empire. The Wali stabilized finances and built thousands of miles of roads. Covering a territory nearly as large as modern Bulgaria, the city became the administrative center of a modernizing province. Old Krastyu is the living memory of this land. Born at the dawn of 1785, he outlived sultans, empires, and eras. In his mind, the first spark of awakening is still alive. He was but a boy when Paisius's history was secretly copied in Ruschuk. Those words were the first bread for the hungry Bulgarian soul. "O you unwise!" Old Krastyu remembers the suffering, the marauding hordes, the ashes, and the ruined people. It was a time of lawlessness and pain. But the awakened spirit of freedom could no longer be quenched. The old man recalls the new Renaissance, how with toil and tenacity, the Bulgarians stood tall again, becoming a primary economic force in the empire. Craftsmen formed guilds, new trade routes were forged. While the deft hands of young maidens created beauty, Bulgarian merchants in Istanbul fought for church independence. The spirit of liberty spread its wings once more. Old Krastyu smiles. His soul is at peace. In the 19th century, Ruschuk donned its modern European attire. But behind this glittering facade, in the quiet neighborhoods and riverside shops, beat another heart, the rebellious heart of the Bulgarian National Revolution. No one embodied the resistance like Baba Tonka Obretenova, the mother of the revolution. She raised 5 sons destined for freedom, but in her heart she kept a place for another son of Bulgaria, Stefan Karadja. After the voivode was brought wounded and died in the dungeons of Ruschuk, she secretly took his skull and preserved it as a sacred relic. A chilling symbol. But if we want to understand the spirit of this city, we must look this symbol straight in the eyes. What will we find in their darkness? Are we, like Karadjata, ready to sacrifice our most precious for the sake of freedom? Angel Kanchev, Leski's assistant, sacrificed his all as well, choosing a bullet at the Ruse port in 1872 over Turkish captivity. The April uprising of 1876 was drowned in fire and rivers of blood. Mountains of skulls followed Karadja's. Over 30,000 were killed, more than 80 settlements burned to the ground. Despite the defeat, the uprising achieved what weapons could not. Under European pressure, the Constantinople Conference was convened, demanding Bulgarian autonomy. The Sublime Porte, however, refused the reforms, giving Russia the pretext it had long awaited. In these turbulent times, a storm gathered from the north. On April 12, 1877, Emperor Alexander II read the fateful manifesto. War was declared. In June 1877, the Russian army forced the Danube at Svistov, deploying the eastern detachment of 70,000 men to block Ruse, the key pillar of the quadrilateral of fortresses. Concentrated here was a 30,000-man Ottoman garrison with over 200 cannons. Meanwhile, General Gurko's advance guard, including the first 7,500 Bulgarian volunteers, struck south to seize the strategic Shipka Pass. On February 20, 1878, Russian troops led by General Totleben entered Ruschuk. The fortress was officially surrendered, and after 5 dark centuries, the city breathed free once more. The oldest preserved building in Ruse, the Church of the Holy Trinity, gained not 1 but 2 new bell towers, reaching for the free sky. Ruse crossed the threshold of freedom as the largest city in the principality, the pulsing heart of a reborn Bulgaria with over 22,000 residents. Soon, little Ruse would transform into the small Vienna of the Balkans.
And from this, Ruse will transform into
the first modern hospital in Bulgaria was built immediately after the liberation with the personal funds of Prince Alexander I Battenberg, introducing the revolutionary pavilion system. Here is the first European-style administrative building in the country with its impressive neo-Renaissance facade, the district administration, designed as the official residence for Prince Battenberg. Founded by the Austrian Habermann, the first beer factory in Bulgaria launched the brewing industry using Bavarian technology. Its products won gold medals at World Expos in Paris and Antwerp, turning Ruse into the first city in the country with a vibrant beer garden culture. This is the headquarters of the first Bulgarian insurance company, whose capital once controlled a significant portion of the Balkan financial market. Architect Edward Winter turned it into a neoclassical masterpiece. Through the morning haze rises the Baroque palace of the bank belonging to the 2 richest brothers in Bulgaria, Ivan and Stefan Simeonovi, housing the most modern German vaults of the era. Every minute, something new, something extraordinary happens in Ruse. Behold the Girdap building, the first private bank in Bulgaria, founded in 1881. It became the symbol of the nation's financial independence. The Knyaz Boris Men's Gymnasium was so massive, it was one of the largest educational institutions in the Balkans. The city also became the cradle of naval education, with the first marine engineering school. By the late 19th century, the port of Ruse was the largest grain exchange in the region, featuring the country's first pontoon docking system. From the Danubian fog emerges a neo-Gothic fairy tale of red brick. This incredible building remains one of the most exotic examples of old Ruse's cosmopolitan face. Then, on a sunny day, the center of Ruse is illuminated by stone beauty. The Dochodno zdanie, the profit-yielding building, appears like a mirage, dominating the city. It was so named because it was intended to generate revenue for the school board through shop rentals and its theater. Atop its roof sit 7 symbolic figures representing art, science, agriculture, craft, trade, and defense. This is the home of the Muses. A little earlier, in 1897, in a small Ruse establishment, light came to life for the first time on film, bringing Parisian squares to a stunned audience. At the same time, in the pre-Chicago building, the first elevator carried guests to the stars, powered by hand toward the rooftop summer garden. Hotel Bristol was the epitome of Viennese chic, offering a world-class restaurant and cafe. It was the favorite meeting place for industrialists and merchants arriving by international steamers. This austere and elegant building was the most prestigious girls' college, where instruction was entirely in French. A monumental structure reminiscent of Parisian institutions. The grand building in the background was built to demonstrate the economic might of Ruse's entrepreneurs, who established their own chamber of commerce before Sofia. We soar over the beautiful merchant home of the Baklov family, international traders of grand scale. Marked by its exquisite corner tower, the building combined luxury shops and aristocratic residences, reflecting the high standard of living at the turn of the century. The land ship, as Ruse locals called the magnificent house of Panayot Spasov, one of the city's greatest grain traders. And then she appears. Raised by the donations of grateful citizens, this monument is the eternal symbol of free will. At its base are two lions, one breaking the chains of slavery, the other guarding freedom. This masterpiece stands as the final point in the realization of the national ideal, immortalizing the heroism of 12,000 volunteers. This was one of the most emotional events in the history of the Third Bulgarian Kingdom. The heroes were honored by over 30,000 people who flocked by train and steamer from across the country. The celebrations lasted to dawn, and a horo, a dance so large that it encompassed the entire city center, swirled under the glowing gaze of the statue. Ruse has always honored its heroes, and thus it shall endure, carried on the wings of the free spirit.